Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Bucs Magic finally ran out against the Lions, and one of their legends might be lost for the season. Also, the Blue Jays are headed to the World Series after taking down the Mariners in a gut-wrenching Game 7 for Seattle. And speaking of Seattle, the Seahawks hosted the Texans.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
In the first of a Monday night doubleheader, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the best record in the NFC heading to Detroit. They leave with a loss and questions about their future after what could be a serious injury to Mike Evans. James Darko from Locked On Bucs joins me now. And James, this was not the performance that I think Bucs fans were hoping to see here. What went wrong for Tampa Bay?
I mean, this one falls on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield 100%. And Bucs fans, listeners to the podcast know that I am the biggest Baker guy. And that was the worst performance we've seen from him in a Buccaneers uniform. He was missing throws that we have seen him make 50 times this season alone. And I don't know if it was the initial pressure early in the game. And we all know pressure is cumulative, right? So was it that early stuff that got him some happy feet? He was sailing passes. He was missing Tez Johnson. Emeka Egbuka had 12 targets and finished with 4 receptions. And that's not something that happens with Emeka Egbuka, right? That guy catches everything. Maybe 7 of those were catchable, and the 3 that he didn't catch were broken up by a makeshift secondary in Detroit. So Baker was just all over the place and just could not get the offense going. I think the defense did everything that you ask of them in this game on the road against that offense, and the Bucs offense was just anemic.
Yeah, if I had told you going into this game that Detroit was going to score 24, and we knew that Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka were going to start the game, we'll get to the Mike Evans bit of this, and that Detroit was going to be starting, a makeshift secondary, which is apparently just what they do now, you probably would have felt pretty good about the Bucs' chances in this one.
Oh, yeah, not to mention winning the turnover battle, right? I mean, they stopped him a couple of times on 4th down. Jamel Dean with an interception. You had a fumble recovery, and it's just like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I think I saw you tweet it out. I saw a couple of national media talk about the officiating being really, really weird in this game. I'm not here to blame officiating. This game is on Baker Mayfield, but it was a weird night all around with the way Baker performed, with the game plan that the Bucs had with, and we're going to get into the injuries, and then the officiating. Just it was one of those games that every team has. I mean, Packers fans, as you know, they want to throw that Cleveland game out, right?
Sure. This
is the Bucs Cleveland game. They got to throw this one out and just turn to the Saints.
I don't appreciate you mentioning that, but that is, in fact, the thing that happened. No, the Mike Evans injury, it looked bad when it happened. It was hard to tell what the injury was. Some reporting immediately following the game says this is a serious injury for Mike Evans. More info to come, of course. Check out Locked On Bucs for more on the story, of course. But James, if this is a serious injury for the Bucs, I mean, what does this do for them from a mentality standpoint and from a football standpoint?
It's going to destroy the locker room emotionally, but these guys, they love Mike. They look up to him. He and Levante are they are the seasoned veterans. They are the leaders. They are everything to this franchise. But I also think that it's something that the Bucs can rally around. Let's go out there. Let's do it for Mike. It sucks so bad for his streak to end this way when he had a chance to break Jerry Rice's record. Hopefully it's not the end of his career. You go back to his conversation with Kay Adams and some of the interviews he did during training camp. This is the best I've ever felt in my career. And he had his annual hamstring injury. That was just kind of par for the course for Mike Evans. But to go down the way that he did, my dad texted me and he said, I was afraid it was too soon. And I immediately said, that wasn't his hamstring. I think he broke his collarbone. That's what it looked like to me. No official word on that yet. Not a doctor. but it's devastating in the moment. But I think it's something that's going to become a rallying cry for this team down the stretch.
Now, I mentioned the record coming in. They had the best record in the NFC. That, by the way, now belongs to the Green Bay Packers. But if you're a cynic, if you were a critic of this Buccaneers team, you'd point out all the close wins and say, well, this team just was never as good as their record. If you're a Bucs fan, if you're, a more glass half full guy on this team, you say, hey, look, this team has been ravaged by injuries. The problem is, they're still ravaged by injuries, and we saw it play out. I mean, their offensive line, they could not protect Baker in this game, and if you lose Mike Evans, that has a huge impact on your passing game. So how do they move forward here?
It's been a next man up mentality all season long. Michael Jordan, a practice squad offensive lineman, he was elevated again and started in this game at right guard. Not that Michael Jordan, but in that right side of the line, I don't think it mattered that it was Michael Jordan or whoever it would have been a right guard. That right side of the line with Charlie Heck there, with Luke Gedeke still out, is a problem. And Aiden Hutchinson was going to be Aiden Hutchinson. They kept him at bay as long as you possibly can. Yeah. And then you lose Hassan Reddick in the game as well, to what appeared to me to be a high ankle sprain when Penei Sewell landed on his leg the way that he did. But this Bucs team has been really, really good about the next man stepping up. You go just a week back, you didn't have Mike Evans, you didn't have Chris Godwin, you still don't have Jalen McMillan, and then Emeka Egbuka goes out at halftime, and they win with Cam Johnson and Tez Johnson. So they continue to find ways to get it done. But when Baker isn't at his best, you see what happens. And, the Detroit game is a perfect example of that.
Stay up to date all year on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Bucs on your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. The Jays are headed to the World Series. Before we get to that, Ravens fans are pretty fired up with John Harbaugh right now. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Ravens fans are getting frustrated with head coach John Harbaugh, and according to Locked On Ravens host Kevin Ostreicher, so are the players.
There have been just weird situations going on with this Ravens team, whether it be weird player sagas like Deontay Johnson or CJ Gardner-Johnson, with some of those, some of the messaging that we've gotten from coaches and players, like the Ravens right now, organizationally, I think a lot of the fan base is questioning the leadership. And guess what? If you want to talk about Roquan Smith, skip media, Zay Flowers, skip media, Marlon, whatever it may be. To me, the leadership is a direct reflection on John Harbaugh. It's a direct reflection on the top.
And the Florida Gators begin their head coaching search after firing Billy Napier.
This is a firing that needed to happen. And sometimes that's all it needs to be, right? Like that's all it needs to be. It sucks for Florida that it didn't work out. It sucks for Billy that it didn't work out. But it didn't work out. Florida made the right call.
The Seattle Mariners failed to get past the Blue Jays in Game 7 of the ALCS. Locked On Mariners postcast hosts Chris Crawford and Anderson Hurst give their raw reaction to the loss on last night's live stream.
The Mariners season is over in Game 7 of the ALCS. There's a lot to talk about today. There's some pitching decisions. There's some, mediocre offense, I'll say, minus a couple players. And it just sucks. I have a lot of anger, but I'm also very tired.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally drained. So, sad fat man. What do you think?
I hate this. I hate this. And all losses hurt, a little bit. There are some that obviously hurt more than others. And this is up there. It's probably the hardest. It's probably the hardest loss since Super Bowl 48 for me. Michigan, Washington's up there
49,
too.
I mean.
But yeah, Super Bowl 49. Yeah, Super Bowl 48, man. Pretty good game. I'm really angry that this was avoidable. I'm really angry that this was, we talk about process and result because of course we do, because we're nerdy people who know that term and it's been brought up over sports so much. The process here sucked. The results matched. Bada, bing, bada, boom. They were yin and yang, right? They were perfectly in line with each other. I would not make a good general manager or make a good coach that has roster decisions because I'm really an emotional person. I'd have a hard time not firing the manager of the Seattle Mariners right now. I'd have a really hard time not doing it. And that's a mistake on my behalf. I'm just being honest with you. Like, even I can see it. Like, it's crazy to think that way. But I'm pissed. I am so mad about the decision that ultimately cost you this baseball game that I don't know what else there is to talk about. There's lots to talk about. Lots. But ultimately, it comes down to that your manager made one of the worst in-game decisions, a decision that if you were on any kind of social media, you saw everyone going, what the hell are they doing? Didn't back it up. Didn't make him look foolish or make the people who questioned the decision look foolish at all. And I'm just really sad. I'm really, really sad. I'm sad for my family. I'm sad for the community. I'm sad for everyone because I thought the Mariners deserved to win this baseball game. And I thought the Mariners deserved to go to the World Series, but they're not going to, in large part because of one horrific decision.
Yeah. I hate the Blue Jays. I'm rooting for the Dodgers.
Oh, Dodgers in 4, by the way. It doesn't matter if you're rooting for the Blue Jays. You could literally have a Maple Leaf heart. You're going to get your asses kicked. It's going to be a destruction. You're going to get clobbered. And I have some Blue Jays friends. I do. And for those people, I'm happy. It's been, still. I've been friends with them on the internet for a very long time, and I have some real life ones as well. I'm happy for those folks. I'm not happy for the fan base at all. I'm sad for our fan base. I'm sad. I'm really sad.
What I was going to say, no, it's okay. No, I was leading into me saying if I'm trying to be as objective as possible, the Blue Jays deserve to win this series. I'm going to be completely honest. They were the better team. They were the better team throughout all 7 games. The Mariners had moments, but them every single at bat is incredibly hard to get people out. And I cannot say that about the Seattle Mariners whatsoever.
No.
And I realized the Mariners, their starting pitching wasn't good enough. The Mariners, their bullpen actually, minus maybe today, one thing was actually one of their strengths of this series, but the Blue Jays were the better team, and it sucks. And I say that while also knowing I think the Mariners were the better team today, and their manager didn't do enough to make it matter enough. I'll put it that way. Let's get right into the decision. We normally do. We normally start with the start, but it's all encompassing here.
It is.
It's George Kirby being taken out in the after 4. For Brian Wu. It's Brian Wu being taken out after 2+ innings.
2 1/3.
For Eduard Bizardo, which eventually costs you the game, the season, possibly more than that, because I don't know when we're going to get back to this point, guys. I'm just going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I try to be introspective. And also, of course, it's George Springer, because why wouldn't it be? After everything with the booing and all that stuff. It rivals Scott Service's decision to bring in Robbie Ray against Yordan Alvarez. It probably worse, to be completely honest. Not just because of the stakes, but it's that much more egregious in my eyes. And so just Chris, everything there.
Yeah,
this decision. I honestly I think one of the underrated parts of it is taking out Kirby as early as you did, not because Brian Wu was bad.
No.
Because you could have gotten, I think, at least one more inning from George, and then it's Brian Wu in that situation for his second inning instead of his third inning, right?
Right.
And push it back one more, so to speak.
Stay up to date all year on the Seattle Mariners by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Mariners on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Texans tried to make it a miserable night in Seattle sports late on Monday night. Seahawks beat up the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football. Locked On Seahawks host Corbin Smith breaks down the big-time victory.
John, what did you think tonight before? I know that Stan's going to have some things to say about our boy Nick Caley probably or something. John, what did you think?
Two thoughts. My number one thought, defense at halftime, they held the Seattle Seahawks to 1 of 6 on third down. Seattle ends the game 2 of 14 on third down. They at halftime, it was 188 total yards allowed from Houston's defense. They ended the game with 316, so they improve on that number. In the second half, I thought the defense did everything in their willpower, including Will Anderson having to go out there and score a touchdown from a sack strip fumble to keep Houston in their game. I don't have much to really get on the defense. I could talk about Derek Stingley. He had a rough night. We could talk about, maybe Aziz and some of the one boneheaded play that I think that he made, questionable for some, but defense did good. I'm going to say the next thing because I know it's going to set up Stan. In the offseason at the Texans Fan Council, Nick Caserio was asked about how are they going to go about revamping this offensive line. And I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially he said, we're not worried about it. You guys shouldn't be worried about it. It's going to work itself out. Against two lowly teams in the NFL, the offensive line looked decent. Against teams that matter, and tonight, the offensive line pushed in the backfield, can't establish the run, and essentially threw off the entire rhythm for C.J. Stroud in this offense by Nick Caley. So, yeah, it's a problem. You should have been worried about it in the offseason, and now in the middle of the season, it's more of a problem to worry about. Stan, you got it.
I told you all that I was concerned before we get to Caley because he struggled as Wade said. D'Amico must address his overall operation. D'Amico Ryans has a losing record as a head coach when this team has more than a customary week to prepare. That they have a problem. This is now 3 years I've seen, and I've been keeping score. When they got this much time, you got to come out and play better than that. That's my first thing. Nick Caley, and really some of this is on Caley. Some of this is on Caserio. And I thought it was obvious, especially listening to the broadcast with Louis Riddick and Dan Orlovsky.
They did a good job, by the way.
They did. They echo what I've been saying since we all started doing this for the 25 Texans. When Nico Collins is not touching the football and there's no Joe Mixon back there, they can't function. Like the talent drop off from Nico to whoever the second or third best receiver, and I get it, no Christian Kirk, out with a hammy today. I told y'all he was often injured when they signed him. Everything that I have said, and we'll get to the offensive line, I don't want to take everybody's time, including that group up front, which is where it starts. The Texans are playing every game with one hand tied behind their back because the offensive plan is flawed and it's been flawed from the word go. I have other stuff, but I'll pass the baton.
Wade, you brought up the offensive line. You being the former offensive lineman, what did you make overall the offensive line tonight that just seemed to have CJ running all over the place?
It was a bad performance. There was multiple times where you had short yardage plays where you didn't get any push up front. You're getting driven in the backfield. I think I believe it was the first 4th down and 1 fullback got stoned in the backfield. Turnover on down. There's multiple times that the performance early in the ball game, I believe, scared Caley from running the ball throughout the game, and that was to me the biggest flaw to where they couldn't get back in the game because you couldn't hold up in pass protection just because Seattle was sitting in the house.
15 running attempts from the Houston Texans, 17 total, 15 from the running backs.
Right. Like you can't go against a team that's going to pin their ears out. They got the players that they got. They have the philosophy that they got today. They're going to heat you up. They're going to blitz you from every angle. You know, McDonald came from the Ravens, so you know what that means. They're going to get home. I don't care who you play against. They're going to figure out ways to beat your protection scheme. They're going to get home. So you got to do things to slow them down. You got to run the ball right at them. You got to play action them. They did a good job of that, play action them. Dalton Schultz is dangerous. 4 or 5 passes off of that boot play. Yeah. But they didn't run the ball enough at them. And so it's a lot of times it doesn't matter it matters how many times you run the ball, but it matters when you run the ball. So like in the second half, Louis Riddick, I thought he was dead ass wrong about this in that fourth quarter. There was a 2-score game with about 11, 12 minutes left in the game. Texans had the ball. And the first thing he said is the Texans, you know, they're going to have to get some chunk plays down here. They got to figure a way to hold up front because, you know, they can't run the ball. Nah, they can run the ball in a situation like that because everybody's expecting them to throw the ball. That's when you need to run the ball and get you 4 or 5 to get you in 2nd and 5. I thought that they did a really bad job of calling plays to keep the chains moving.
Situational awareness
situational awareness to just keep the chains moving, to keep yourself in a position that you eventually can throw the ball downfield. You have possessions where you have 3 straight 9 routes thrown. Incomplete. And none of the guys you're throwing 9 routes to are guys that are known for you completing 9 routes. Your 9-route guy, Nico Collins, is in a blue tent. And you go out there for a possession and you throw 3 9 routes in a row. Slot go, outside go. That ain't getting it done for you. You could have easily on 1st and 10 handed the ball off and got 4, especially in the situation because they figured that you're going to throw the ball. So it's just the decision making I thought was poor. And so you couple that with the actual performance by the players up front, CJ Stroud, just everybody across the board, and that's the performance you got out of the offense of the Houston Texans. And it was really bad. It was tough to watch because there was more to be had out there. That game was actually a winnable game with what the defense and the special teams gave you. You got a blocked field goal. You got 4 turnovers. You got a score on defense, a defensive touchdown. That should keep you in games. Actually, should have you winning ball games if you can just be average on the offensive side of the ball, and you didn't get that from the Texans tonight.
And finally, it might not be the biggest play of the season for the Green Bay Packers, but Lucas Haversek's 61-yard field goal might end up being the most unlikely. Haversek had given up on being an NFL kicker and was looking for work as a part-time substitute teacher before being signed by the Packers just 10 days ago. Then he proceeded to crush what ended up being the longest field goal in Green Bay history. This, despite the fact that Haversek said he wasn't feeling 100% throughout the game and had a bad warm-up. Also, remember, the Packers plane departed late from Green Bay. They waited almost 6 hours on the tarmac to get to Arizona. Sometimes all it takes is a coach willing to give someone a chance. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, we help you get set for the World Series. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.